have to talk about the 1-8 Braves. That record, just 1-8, just my goodness, that is beyond uncomfortable. And I saw all these numbers last week with teams that start 0-5 and 0-6 and 0-7, and I thought CJ Nikowski, who does Braves TV, had a good handle on this, and nobody likes to have anybody who's not going to be screaming at the top of their lungs that the thing is falling apart, the ship is sinking. But CJ had a number that was very relevant, that I think 85 teams had lost 7 games in a row and made the playoffs. But people yelled back, but CJ, they're not the first 7 games. He's like, okay, you're right. They're not the first 7 games. You can argue if you're going to lose 7 in a row, which you never want to do, and I never thought this team would lose 7 in a row this year. If you're going to do it, you'd like to get it out of the way early. So if it's a thing that happens, let it happen now. Here's my hot sports opinion. Here's my hot take that's not very hot. They're still going to make the playoffs. I really believe that. They're still one of the 6, and I repeat, 6 most talented teams in the National League. If this was the old days when games were in black and white and there were 2 division winners, yeah, it might be time to panic really early. Even those days, it wouldn't be time to panic after 9 games. But when only 2 teams made the playoffs, you would routinely have to win 94, 95, 96, 97 games. 6 teams are going to go from the NL. I still think the Braves are one of the 6 best teams. I think this team, as they get Acuna back, as Strider returns, Murphy comes back, and guys actually start producing more to their capabilities, they're going to reset this. And I know nobody wants to hear this because you want to hear it's not going to get better. It's going to look like this for the rest of the season. It's not. They're too good. They're too talented. I'm not resigning to the fact that that's what this baseball team is. I think we're going to look back in 3 months and go, how the hell did they lose 7 in a row to start the season? Because they'll be right in the middle of a playoff chase.
Yeah, the 0-7 start, I had mentioned last week that it's sort of able to dismiss that because so many of those teams existed when there were fewer playoff spots. There were a couple at 0-6 who made the playoffs, 1-11, the Cardinals, 1995. I think the Stones started 0-6 and they make the playoffs. Actually, for the Braves. So 0-6 made it when there were only 8 teams in the playoffs, not 12. 74 Pirates start 0-6. There were 2 teams in each league that made the playoffs. 2. The Pirates came back from 0-6 to make the playoffs with only 2, not 12,
right?
2. So it can be done.
It can be done.
Especially by talented teams, and the Braves are talented. They need to start playing that way.
So there's the bottom line in this, right? And we just had Tom Glavine on. And Glav, I thought, said it perfectly, right? He mentioned the 88 Braves. I think they lost 13 in a row to start the season. They were dreadfully bad, but their talent, well, 0-7 is still an anomaly. Their talent backed up that they were going to win their 58 or 60 games, whatever. The problem for this team, among some injury stuff early, is Austin Riley looks lost again. Ozzie Albies has looked lost too much. Michael Harris, although he started to pick it up, had looked lost too much. There are too many spots where you're like, I know what that guy's capable of. I know what he's capable of. Now, the bullpen stuff, concerning, no doubt about it. And I'll go back to what, Chuck, we talked about time and time again. This was not an Alex Anthopoulos choice. This was, I've got parameters to work in. He was on the show with us the day before the season. He's like, there are guys we've paid all over this roster, and we're going to have to pick and choose some other areas to expect more things out of for not the same kind of money we're going to spend. That being said, they've spent on the bullpen. I told you the number. They spent nearly $40 million on Rysel, Joe Jimenez, who's out, on Pierce Johnson, and now Aaron Bummer. Now, the other part of the bullpen, they're going to have to get stuff, at least till the trade deadline, that is above their pay grade because they paid almost everybody else on the roster. That's not an Alex decision. The decision was paying guys and then being told by his overlords that we're not going to pay the luxury tax this year, so make it work. And guess what? So far, they haven't made the bullpen thing work.
Yeah, and they're looking for more from Raylo, not less. And so that's like, I mean, from a tangible in innings, like multiply 9 times 162. What do you need, like 1,500 innings? And they were wanting to go from 130 to like 170-ish with him. Well, they won't be getting to 130 with him like they did last year. That was the idea. Raylo was like 11 million or so, and Jimenez is like 8.
Mm-hmm. That's just becomes sunken cost.
And so every team has injuries, and you have to overcome.
Which,
Braves
by the way,
were razor thin at the beginning of the season.
By the way, they've overcome injuries every year. They do it better than anybody because they are so deep. But when I see, we can talk about the pitching all we want. It hasn't been great. It hasn't been the problem. Now, Rysel blowing a save situation against the Dodgers, he's human, but I still don't worry about Iglesias. What I worry about is OPSs that are in the 600s, the 500s, and the 400s from 6 guys. Small little sample. It's 9 games. It sucks. It's 9 miserable games. It's been painful, not fun, none of it. But I have to believe, because I know what Michael Harris is capable of, and Ozzie, and Austin and Matt and more from Ozuna and more from these guys and when they get Ronald back. I have to believe that they are going to right that ship enough that it self-corrects. I have to. If it doesn't, yeah, it's going to fall apart and it's going to be ugly. I can't sign off on that.
Got to figure out this rotation right now.
I don't think with Strider's back in 2 starts, in my opinion, that you're going to go Sales, Strider, Schwelly, and then you're going to fill it in. I think you could be fine with Smith-Shawver and Grant Holmes. Smith-Shawver's going to have rocky stuff. He's a rookie. Still largely a rookie. He's been around for a minute, but he's 22. I still think this offense is where this lives or dies.
I'll tell you the trap that I get into with pitching rotation is I start to assume that like the 2 or 3 studs we have.
Yeah.
I start counting them as wins every time through the rotation.
Sure, because you know how good they are.
Then when you lose a Sales start, when you lose, Schwellenbach pitched his ass off against the Padres, and you lost anyway.
Yep.
When you lose those, it ruins all my math for what I'm looking at for a 7 or 8 game road trip or home. I'm like, wait a minute, we're supposed to win the Sales start and both of the Schwellenbachs, and so you don't. Then you have the 40% of your rotation that isn't them.
No question.
So this is going to be a struggle.
But here's where I'll disagree. If you tell me, and you can't, that if I get Strider back and he stays healthy, Strider, Sarah, Schwelly, I'll take my chances. That's still a playoff team. They're still that talented with that offense and with that top 3. I would argue that top 3, if healthy, is as good as any top 3 in baseball. We can have discussions about the Phillies.
Sure.
We can have discussions about him. If Schwelly's this and Strider comes back healthy. Now, there's our ifs. That's not a hot take that the Braves are going to make the playoffs. That if they get their 88 wins or 92, whatever the number is. But yes, they've given themselves a hole to dig out of. And to your point, when you do lose a Sales start, which, by the way, is human, when you do lose a Schwelly start because you don't hit, it changes the math. There's no question about it.